Welcome back to FreightWaves Now, and it's Friday, which doesn't just mean the end of the week for us here. It also means another episode of Truck Talk with Alan Adler, Star Detroit Bureau Chief, talking all about things going on in the big truck world. Alan, welcome to FreightWaves Now this morning.
Thank you, guys. Good to be here. You know, we had a week off, so had to get back into the thing this week. Ready to go.
Well, we're glad you are back. Let's talk about your truck talk today. You wrote a little bit about TuSimple's watermelon haul. This is a pretty big one for them. Another first. I mean, you talk about a lot of firsts in this industry, but talk to me about the importance of this one.
Well, I think what happened with TuSimple is a proof point, call it points on the board, if you will. We wrote about this a couple of weeks ago, but they took about 10 hours if you count the time that they would have had to stop a truck with a driver at the wheel out of the trip from Nogales, Arizona to Oklahoma City. The bottom line of all this is that autonomous trucks don't have to stop to rest. Obviously, while you have safety drivers, they need to stop to rest, so you just put a different one behind the wheel. But basically, we're getting to the point of showing what the robot trucks can do in terms of, if you think of produce, Andrew, it's interesting because they can change the way they do the entire food chain, the entire food chain, literally here, fresher fruit getting to the source sooner and that kind of thing. So I think what you're looking at is these instances where the people with autonomous trucks, with electric trucks, are trying to show that not only can they do what's being done today, but they can arguably do it better.
So we've talked a lot about autonomous trucks using that corridor across the lower Southwest to kind of be that test kitchen, if you will, for taking things because it's low risk, right? It's really straight roads. There's not a whole lot of traffic around them because it's pretty spread out. Talk to me about where they're planning on expanding, if there's any type of expansion for testing on maybe places that are a little bit more dangerous.
Yeah, well, I think, Kaylee, one of the things that's going on is they have to map these routes. And obviously, the American Southwest doesn't get a lot of snow. It doesn't have a lot of things that happen that would be particularly challenging to autonomous trucks in their early days. But what we're seeing, and TuSimple, again, using them as an example, they're mapping, thousands of miles. That is, capturing what is there now and then refreshing that data at all times so that their sensor systems can work. I believe their plan by the end of next year is to be able to go coast to coast. They may be able to go through certain states. There are some states, about half the states right now would allow autonomous trucking to go over state borders, and about half wouldn't. So we're missing a federal rule right now. That's got to be worked out. But basically, these guys look like they are trying to figure out where their customers are going to want to move freight, map those routes first.
You know, I'm going to say, I don't know if you've ever driven the road from North Texas to Oklahoma through Kansas, but
Can't say I have.
that stretch of I-35, probably a good stretch to use as autonomous trucks on because it's flat, it's straight, it's the most boring road I've ever driven on.
Hey, Alan, I did want to talk about Plus, though, because they have expanded they've made a test that is not through just a very simple road. They traversed a large stretch of the Silk Road, 4,000 miles. Talk to me about the importance of that and all of the different conditions that they went through during their run.
Yeah, I mean, the list is long. Tunnels and S-curves and all kinds of things that you can read about today. But one of the things that they're trying to prove, because they're going to launch first in China, they have a partnership with First Auto Works, or FAW, and they're going to begin factory installation of their software this year in FAW trucks. They've been in 29 of the Chinese provinces out of 34. Plan is to hit all 150,000 miles of highways in China by the end of the year, I believe, or eventually that's their goal. So they're spending a lot of time in China. A lot of their financial backing comes from China, even though they're based in Cupertino and in California. But their first proof case or proof is going to be in China. They'll do some retrofits here. They haven't said who their customers will be in the U.S. yet, but they do plan to do retrofits over here. But their mapping focus and a lot of their focus so far has been in China. Andrew.
Alan, I wanted to play up the tunnel that you spoke of because it was a 6-mile tunnel across this Silk Road. I had never heard of a tunnel that long. I think I looked up in the U.S. The longest one we have is 2.5 miles. I could be wrong there, but I think it's in Alaska. That's a really long tunnel. I just wanted to say the Chinese engineering is something else. But let's talk a little bit about Volvo because you had 2 stories about them in your Truck Talk today. Can you tell me a little bit about them?
Yeah, it's interesting with Volvo because they're claiming a couple of firsts. It fits that theme, if you will, of today's truck talk, which gets at sort of being first. And one of the things they did was with the Albertson Company's supermarket chain out in California. They put two VNR model electric trucks with them, and then Albertsons contracted to get zero emission reefer units so that they could do truly 100% zero emission grocery deliveries. So Volvo claims first there, and then just yesterday they announced the sale of 5 VNR electric trucks to Manhattan brewery. The big deal there is that it's the first commercial sale outside of California. We know that California is driving much of this, especially the electric vehicle growth and interest. So getting into New York, which is another state very interested in following what California is doing, but getting a sale there is significant. And so, saying that they're first in the non-California market is a pretty big deal. It's worth noting anyway.
Awesome. A good expansion from coast to coast for Volvo, that is. Alan, give us a little bit of a snapshot on what you're working on the editorial side. What have you got story-wise coming up?
Well, you know what? I'm looking again. We've written before about Workhorse. This is a company that's interesting. They're working on electric vans, delivery vans. They have fallen into the meme stock category. They've been through this whole what's called a short squeeze in terms of stock price before. About 43% of the holders of Workhorse stock right now are short. That is, they expect the price to go down. So we're kind of going through that again. I think I'm going to work on that today. I had a really interesting discussion last week down in Savannah. We were down there on vacation, but I took an hour out and went over and visited Great Dane trailers. They don't call themselves trailers anymore, by the way, but Great Dane, and talked to one of the longtime family members. The company's over 100 years old, and we'll be working on that a little bit, see what we come up with there. Kind of interesting company, interesting history.
All right, Alan, lots to look forward to from Mr. Adler. Thanks again for joining us on this Friday. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.